Hey everyone, I'm Morgan Boyd, and this is my video on psychological disorders. First, I'm going to focus on abnormality. Abnormal is a word that has a negative connotation to it, but psychological disorders are referred to as abnormalities. In the slide below, we have scans of the brain showing from normal to obsessive compulsive disorder to bipolar and then depression on the far right. The far right depression, the brain activity is diminished, and the one right next to that on the left, bipolar disorder, because of the mania, it is increased. And then it just shows that the brain is different on those that have psychological disorders. What is abnormality? Abnormality is any pattern of behavior that causes people significant distress, causes them to harm themselves or others, or harms their ability to function in daily life. And like I said before, it is referred to psychological disorders. Signs of this are known as subjective discomfort, whether it being emotional distress or pain. Example of this would be anxiety, whether it be going to school or to work, just being around something that is social and how it affects you with anxiety or discomfort. Another sign of abnormality is the inability to function normally. It's a behavior known as maladaptive, and it is defined as anything that does not allow a person to function with or adapt to the stresses and everyday demands of life. There are many different types of anxiety disorders, some of those being panic, post-traumatic stress disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and specific phobia. One of the more well-known anxiety disorders is just known as generalized anxiety disorder. It affects 2.8% of adults 18 or older in the US, which is about 4 million people. This is something that many people have and many think they have it, but some just struggle with anxiety. But when it becomes something that impacts your daily life every day, it becomes generalized anxiety disorder. And I struggle with this, so I do know what it's like, and it is unfortunate, but there are ways that you can deal with it and things that help a lot. Obsessive compulsive disorder, also known as OCD, is something that many people think they have, but it isn't super common. It does affect about 3.3 million people in the US, but that is only about 2.3% of adults 18 or over, and like the general statement of that would be just repetitive behavior over simple things. Panic disorder is a disorder where panic attacks occur often, almost daily, and it affects about 2.4 million people in the US. People with anxiety do suffer with panic attacks from time to time, but panic disorder, it affects them on the daily. There are many different causes of anxiety disorders or why people think they are caused. Behaviorists believe they are learned behaviors. Some believe that they are genetically inherited. Sometimes they're chemical imbalances, or some people just think of them that these people are irrational and bring this upon themselves. Somatoform disorders are known as sickness as a state of mind. Listed on this slide is the definition of somatoform disorders. They are something where there are really no physical symptoms for it, but the body makes the person feel like they do have these symptoms. A few types of somatoform disorders are hypochondriasis, somatization disorder, and conversion disorder. Somatization disorder is when a person complains of a symptom physically, but there is no physical cause for it, such as their throat hurts, but there is no real physical cause underneath. Listed in this slide are 3 different ways that people believe are the causes of somatoform disorders, varying from the psychodynamic view to the cognitive view. Some people believe that these are genetically inherited, and others believe that the person is in control of why they allow themselves to think this way based on learned beliefs or behaviors. This slide, I'm going to focus on dissociative disorders, which is known as altered consciousness. Dissociative disorders are disorders in which there is a break in conscious awareness, memory, the sense of identity, or some combination. As you can see in the picture in the top right corner, it is a picture of a boy, and there is no cover of his head, but you can see different photos of his eyes and different views of the brain. There are many different types of dissociative disorders, such as depersonalization disorder or dissociative amnesia. I hadn't heard of many of these, but there are different kinds. The dissociative fugue occurs when a person travels away from home and can't remember the trip or even their own identity. Like every disorder, there are different causes or beliefs on why they are caused. In this slide, they show the biological view, the psychodynamic theory, and the cognitive and behavioral view as well. The psychodynamic theory focuses on old memories and it being a defense mechanism against anxiety that causes someone to feel this way. This slide and these next few slides, I'm going to be focusing on mood disorders, known as the effect of affect. And as you can see, there is a spectrum, and it goes from violet to red on the right, and it shows the different spectrums of moods, whether it be psychotic depression to psychotic mania to hypomania, something in between, and the different types, some of them being bipolar disorder, major depression, etc. Out of the many mood disorders, major depression is the most common one to be diagnosed. Some people feel that they suffer with it. A lot of people suffer with depression, but this is something that becomes a daily feeling. Some of these symptoms include weight loss or weight gain, feelings of suicide, loss of energy and interest in things that you enjoyed doing before. And then there's a picture. It shows a sad part of the mind, of the face, and then a serious side, and then the black and white, and then it shows the depressed scans of the brain. In this slide, I'm going to talk about bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is the cycling of emotions between the two poles of possible emotions, whether that being mania to depression. It is something that affects more than 10 million Americans. As you can see on the picture on the far left, it shows the different statistics about it. Some of the symptoms of mania include irritability, unlimited energy, creativity, and depression, including weight loss or weight gain, difficulty making decisions, suicidal thoughts, etc. In this slide, I'm going to focus on schizophrenia, known as an altered reality. On the far right of the slide, we have a picture, Starry, Starry Night by Van Gogh. Van Gogh was schizophrenic, which is why I put that photo on the top right. And he was very artistic and very talented and very creative. And that actually is a pro of schizophrenia. It is a very rare mood disorder. It affects about 1% of adults 18 or over, which is about 2.2 million people. And these people suffer with hallucinations and delusions, and they're unable to distinguish fantasy between reality. Personality disorders are described as, I'm okay, it's everyone else who's weird. And on this slide, there are scans of the brain as well, and BPD, which stands for borderline personality disorder. And it shows the different emotions of the brain and how each scan varies. Types of personality disorders include antisocial, borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and narcissistic personality disorder. Like every psychological disorder, there are different causes or believed to be causes of them. Psychoanalysts blame the Oedipal complex for a poorly developed superego. Some causes they believe may be family relationships and overly protective and strict parenting and neglect. And here are photos of the brain. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the stigmas of mental illness. On the left, we have different photos. The one that says NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. That is a great foundation that really focuses on bringing awareness to it and destigmatizing it. And then there's a picture that says label jars, not people, just because of the stereotypes that are received towards people with psychological disorders. And some of these stereotypes being these people are psychotic or crazy and they're labeled as dangerous and violent. And there are very many negative stereotypes, but luckily there are a lot of celebrities and public figures who advocate against this and for it.